Thanks to Angelina's free daycare empire, we could finally afford our dream. Kevin raised his wine glass toward me with that charming grin that had gotten him out of trouble since we were kids. To my amazing sister, who made this all possible, the entire family erupted in applause around my parents' dining room table. Mom beamed like Kevin had just announced he'd cured cancer. Dad nodded approvingly, while Michelle clicked through photos of their new lake house on her laptop. Granite countertops, wraparound deck, private dock, the works. My name is Angelina, and I've been disappearing piece by piece for 10 years. Show them the master bedroom, honey, Michelle said, her manicured fingers dancing across the trackpad. The walk-in closet is bigger than most people's bedrooms. Gorgeous, Mom gushed. You two have worked so hard for this. I kept my smile frozen in place and took another sip of wine. Worked hard, right? The kids are going to love the lake, Kevin continued, scrolling to a photo of a pristine sandy beach. Ellie's already planning to bring her art supplies for painting sessions, and Dylan wants to learn to fish. When do you move in? Dad asked. Next month, Michelle replied. We're having a housewarming party in July. Everyone's invited, of course. Of course. I wondered who'd be watching Ellie and Dylan during this housewarming party. 3 guesses, first 2 don't count. Angelina, you've been awfully quiet, Mom said, turning her attention to me. Isn't this exciting? Very exciting, I managed. It looks beautiful. Kevin leaned back in his chair, that satisfied expression I knew so well spreading across his face. You know, Angie, we literally couldn't have done this without you. Michelle and I calculated it once. If we'd had to pay for childcare all these years, we'd probably still be renting that cramped apartment downtown. Michelle nodded enthusiastically. The savings were incredible. We're talking about $60,000, $70,000 over the years, maybe more. The number hit me like a physical blow. They'd actually calculated it. They knew exactly how much my life was worth to them, down to the dollar. That's what family does, Mom said warmly. We help each other succeed. I thought about all the times I'd helped them succeed. Every Tuesday and Thursday, when I picked up Ellie from school because Michelle's meetings ran late. Every weekend when they needed just a few hours for date nights that turned into entire days. Every vacation I'd missed, every friend's birthday I'd skipped, every college course I'd dropped because someone needed Aunt Angelina. Remember when Dylan had that stomach bug last winter? Kevin laughed. Poor Angie spent 3 days at our place, sleeping on the couch, making sure he stayed hydrated while Michelle and I were both swamped at work. She's a saint, Michelle added. I don't know what we would have done. Called in sick, I thought, like normal parents do. And she never complains, Mom said proudly. Not once in all these years. That was true. I'd never complained. Not when they'd show up an hour late to pick up the kids without calling. Not when they'd ask me to cancel my plans at the last minute because their babysitter fell through. Not when Michelle would hand me a grocery list along with the kids, expecting me to do their shopping while I watched Ellie and Dylan. The best part, Kevin continued, is that the kids adore her. They probably see more of Angie than they do of us some weeks. Everyone laughed at that. Even Michelle giggled, like it was charming instead of devastating. Well, Dad said, raising his glass again, here's to Kevin and Michelle's beautiful new home, and to Angelina for making it all possible. To family, Mom added. To family, everyone echoed. I lifted my glass and smiled. To family. But inside, something had shifted. As I watched them celebrate their success built on my unpaid labor, my sacrificed dreams, my invisible contributions, I felt a strange calm settle over me. That night, I lay awake thinking about all the ways I had disappeared for their convenience, every time I'd bitten my tongue when they took credit for their hard work. Every time I'd smiled and nodded when people praised their parenting while I did the actual parenting, every time I'd put their needs before my own until I'd forgotten I had needs at all. By morning, I was done disappearing. The next morning, I turned off my phone and drove straight to the state university. "I'd like to enroll in your accelerated nursing program," I told the woman at the admissions desk. She blinked at me. "For the fall semester? Registration closed weeks ago, and you'd need to submit transcripts, take placement tests." "I have my transcripts from 10 years ago." I pulled out the folder I'd grabbed from my closet that morning. "And I'll take whatever tests you need me to take, today, if possible." Something in my voice must have convinced her, because 2 hours later, I was sitting in a testing room with a calculator and a number 2 pencil. By noon, I was officially a part-time student in the accelerated RN program, starting Monday. My phone had been buzzing nonstop in my purse. I finally turned it on during the drive home. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages. The first few were from Michelle. "Running late for pickup. Can you get Ellie at 3:15? Then confusion. "Hello? Where are you?" Then panic. "Angelina, call me now." Kevin's messages started around 2 p.m. "Dude, where are you? Michelle's freaking out. Seriously, call us back. This isn't funny. Mom said you're not answering her calls either. What's going on?" I scrolled through them all without responding, then switched the phone back to airplane mode. At 6 p.m., someone pounded on my apartment door. "Angelina, open up!" Kevin's voice carried through the thin walls. "I know you're in there." I looked through the peephole. He was standing there in his work clothes, hair disheveled, holding Dylan's hand. Ellie stood beside them with her backpack, looking confused. More pounding. "Come on, Angie. The kids are tired and hungry. Michelle had to leave work early to get them, and now she's stuck in traffic. Just open the door." I sat on my couch and waited. "Fine," Kevin shouted. "But this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear without warning. We have responsibilities." Their footsteps retreated down the hallway. 20 minutes later, my landline rang. I'd forgotten I still had one. "Angelina Marie Fletcher." Mom's voice was sharp with panic. "What on earth is going on? Kevin says you abandoned those poor children at school." "I didn't abandon anyone," I said calmly. "Their parents picked them up." "Don't get smart with me. You know what I mean. You've never missed a pickup day in 10 years. Are you sick? Did something happen?" "I'm fine, Mom." "Then why—" She paused. "Oh, no. This is about last night, isn't it? About the lake house?" "Partly." "Angelina, honey, you know Kevin didn't mean anything by what he said. He was just excited. You're not actually upset about him mentioning the childcare savings, are you?" I almost laughed. "Upset isn't the right word." "Then what? Help me understand, because Michelle is beside herself. She had to cancel 3 client meetings today, and Kevin missed his presentation to his boss. You're putting them in an impossible position." "They'll figure it out." "That's not like you to be so cold. This isn't you, sweetheart." Maybe that was the problem. Maybe the real me had been buried under 10 years of being whoever they needed me to be. "I enrolled in nursing school today," I said. Silence. "What?" "I start classes Monday. Part-time program, but it'll take up my Tuesdays and Thursdays, and some evenings." But those are your days with the kids." "Not anymore." "Angelina, you can't be serious. You can't just upend everyone's lives because you're having some kind of midlife crisis." "I'm 34, Mom. That's not midlife." "You know what I mean. Kevin and Michelle have built their entire schedule around your help. Michelle's career, Kevin's overtime opportunities. Everything depends on you being available. Then they should have thought of that before bragging about how much money they saved by not paying me." Mom's voice got that dangerous, quiet tone she used when she was really angry. "They're family. Family doesn't charge family. Family also doesn't exploit family for a decade and then throw parties to celebrate the profits. That is not what happened. That's exactly what happened." The line went quiet except for Mom's breathing. "Your father and I are very disappointed in you," she said finally. "I'm sure you are. We raised you better than this, to be selfish and vindictive. You raised me to be convenient. I hung up. My phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. I switched it off airplane mode long enough to listen. Kevin's voice was tight with fury. We've built our entire life around you being there for us. If you think you can just drop everything and play student, think again. This isn't over, Angie. Not even close. I deleted the message and turned the phone off again. For the first time in 10 years, my Tuesday evening was completely free. By Thursday, I had 47 missed calls and 82 text messages. I deleted them all without reading most of them. You're really not going to respond to any of them? Lucia asked during our first academic counseling session. She was younger than me, maybe 26, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude that I appreciated. What would be the point? Well, they're your family. Maybe they want to apologize. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to one of Kevin's recent texts. Listen to this. Stop being a selfish brat and call me back. The kids are asking where Aunt Angie is, and I don't know what to tell them. Lucia winced. Okay, maybe not an apology. Here's another one from my mom. Your behavior is breaking this family apart. How can you live with yourself? Yikes. And my personal favorite from Michelle. I hope you're happy. Dylan cried for an hour yesterday because you weren't there to read him his bedtime story. But I guess your little rebellion is more important than a 5-year-old's feelings. Lucia leaned back in her chair. They're really laying on the guilt thick, aren't they? It's their specialty. I put my phone away. The thing is, Dylan has 2 perfectly capable parents who could read him bedtime stories, but they've never had to because I was always there to do it. How long has this been going on? 10 years, since Ellie was born. I thought about those early days when Michelle would call me crying about how overwhelmed she was, how she didn't know how to balance work and motherhood. I was supposed to help out temporarily, just until they found their rhythm. And you never found a way to step back? Every time I tried, there was a crisis. Michelle's big presentation, Kevin's work emergency, someone getting sick. There was always a reason why they needed me just a little bit longer. Lucia nodded knowingly. Classic enablement cycle. The more you help, the more helpless they become. I didn't see it that way at the time. I thought I was being a good sister, a good aunt. You were. But good doesn't mean doormat. My phone buzzed with another call. Kevin, again. I declined it. Have you thought about what you want to say to them? Eventually, you'll have to have some kind of conversation. Before I could answer, someone knocked on Lucia's office door. Come in, she called. The door opened and Kevin walked in, still in his work clothes, looking frazzled and desperate. Excuse me, I'm looking for my sister Angelina Fletcher. Someone at the front desk said she might be here? Lucia looked at me questioningly. I nodded. Kevin, I said calmly. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? What are you doing here? Mom said you enrolled in some nursing program, but I thought she was confused. He looked around the small office like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. You can't be serious about this. I'm very serious. Angie, come on, this is crazy. You can't just abandon your responsibilities because you're having some kind of breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown. I'm having a breakthrough. Kevin turned to Lucia. I'm sorry, could you give us a minute? This is a family matter. Actually, Lucia said smoothly, this is my office, and Angelina is my student. If she wants you to leave, you'll need to leave. Kevin's face flushed. Look, I don't know what my sister has told you, but she's not thinking clearly right now. She's been helping with my kids for years, and suddenly she just disappeared without any explanation. I think the explanation was pretty clear, I said. You bragged about saving $70,000 by using me as free labor, and I decided I was done being used. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. Kevin ran his hands through his hair. Okay, fine, maybe I could have phrased it better. But you know I didn't mean it like that. You're family. We help each other. When have you helped me, Kevin? He stared at me. What do you mean? I mean, when have you ever helped me? When have you ever sacrificed your time, your plans, your dreams for me? I, that's different. You don't have kids. You don't have the same responsibilities. I had dreams. I wanted to go back to school, remember? But every time I tried, you needed me for something. That was years ago. It was last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. Kevin looked genuinely confused, like he couldn't remember any of those conversations. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe my dreams had been so unimportant to him that they'd never even registered. The kids miss you, he said finally, playing his trump card. Ellie keeps asking when you're coming back. The kids will be fine. They have parents. Michelle's talking about quitting her job. We can't afford full-time childcare and keep up with the mortgage payments. Sounds like a you problem. Kevin's mouth fell open. A me problem? Angie, what happened to you? This isn't like you at all. Maybe this is exactly like me. Maybe you just never bothered to find out who I really was underneath all the free babysitting. He stood there for a long moment, looking lost. I need you to leave now, I said quietly. Kevin looked at Lucia, then back at me. This isn't over. Yes, it is. He left without another word. Lucia waited until his footsteps faded down the hallway. Well, that was intense. That was nothing. Wait until my parents show up. I was right about my parents showing up. They were waiting in the parking lot when I got home from my first day of classes. Angelina, Mom called out, getting out of Dad's sedan. We need to talk. I kept walking toward my apartment building. No, we don't. Yes, we do. Dad's voice was sharper than usual. He rarely raised his voice, which meant Mom had really worked him up. This has gone far enough. I stopped at the building entrance and turned around. What has gone far enough? Me going to school, me having a life. You abandoning your family, Mom said, her voice breaking slightly. Those poor children don't understand why Aunt Angie doesn't love them anymore. I love them plenty. That's why I'm not going to teach them that it's okay to exploit people who care about you. Exploit? Dad stepped forward. Angelina, that's a terrible thing to say about your brother. Is it? What would you call 10 years of unpaid labor? I'd call it family helping family, Mom snapped. The way I helped raise you and Kevin when my mother got sick. The way your father worked double shifts to pay for Kevin's college. The way families are supposed to work. Did Grandma brag to her friends about how much money she saved by making you her free caregiver? Mom's face went white. That's completely different. How? Because I was her daughter. It was my duty. And what was my duty exactly? To sacrifice my entire adult life so Kevin and Michelle could buy a lake house? Dad held up his hands. Okay, everyone calm down. Angelina, honey, nobody expected you to sacrifice your whole life. Then why did you never once ask me what I wanted? Why did you never once suggest that maybe Kevin and Michelle should figure out their own childcare? Because you seemed happy to help, Mom said weakly. I seemed happy because I was raised to be agreeable, to not make waves, to put everyone else's needs first. There's nothing wrong with being selfless, Dad said. There is when it turns you into a ghost in your own life. My phone rang. Kevin again. I declined the call. He's been calling all day, Mom said. Michelle too. They're desperate, Angelina. Michelle might have to quit her job. Good. Maybe she'll finally spend some time with her own children. You can't mean that. I absolutely mean that. Dylan is 5 years old and he barely knows his own mother because she's always working late while I do bedtime routines. Michelle works hard to provide for her family. So do millions of other working mothers. They just don't have a free nanny living next door. Dad stepped closer. What do you want from us, Angelina? An apology? Fine. We're sorry if we took your help for granted. Now, can we please work this out? It's not about an apology anymore, Dad. It's about respect and boundaries. What boundaries? Mom asked. I'm not available for babysitting anymore. Not Tuesday and Thursday pickups, not weekend date nights, not emergency sick days. They're parents. They need to parent. But What about your nursing program? Dad asked. Surely you can work around your class schedule. I stared at him. Did you just ask me to schedule my education around their convenience? I just meant, you meant that even now, even when I'm finally doing something for myself, Kevin and Michelle's needs should come first. Mom started crying. I don't understand what happened to you. You used to be so sweet, so caring. I'm still caring. I'm just not a pushover anymore. There's a difference between being caring and being cruel, she said through her tears. And what you're doing to those children is cruel. My neighbor Moises chose that moment to come home from work. He nodded at me as he walked past, then paused when he saw my parents' faces. Everything okay out here? He asked. We're fine, I said quickly. Actually, no, Mom said, turning to him. Are you a friend of Angelina's? Moises looked at me uncertainly. We're neighbors. Then maybe you can talk some sense into her. She's abandoned her brother's children, and now she won't even discuss it rationally. Mom, stop. She's been helping raise those kids for 10 years, and suddenly she just disappeared. No explanation, no transition period, nothing. Just gone. Moises looked uncomfortable. That sounds complicated. It's not complicated, Dad said. It's family. You help family. Even when family doesn't help you back? Moises asked quietly. The question hung in the air. What's that supposed to mean? Mom demanded. Nothing, Moises said quickly. I should go. No, wait, I said. What did you mean? He hesitated, then looked at my parents. I've lived next door to Angelina for 3 years. I've seen her cancel plans, miss events, turn down dates because she had to babysit. I've never once seen anyone babysit for her. She doesn't have children, Mom said defensively. She has a life, or she should. Mom's face crumpled. I can't believe this. My own daughter has turned strangers against us. Nobody's turned against anyone, I said. But maybe it's time you asked yourself why a stranger can see what you can't. Dad put his arm around Mom. Come on, Yvette, let's go home. As they walked away, Mom called back over her shoulder. If you don't come back to your duties, we're telling the kids what you did. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What I did? But they were already getting in their car. What did your mom mean about telling the kids what you did? Moises asked after my parents drove away. I have no idea. But knowing my family, they'll probably tell Ellie and Dylan that I abandoned them because I'm selfish. Moises shook his head. Want to grab dinner? You look like you could use a drink. Actually, I have something I need to do first. Rain check? Back in my apartment, I pulled out the shoebox I kept under my bed. Inside were 10 years of meticulous records, every babysitting session, every school pickup, every emergency call documented in my neat handwriting. I'd started keeping track in year 3 when Kevin casually mentioned that daycare would cost them like $15 an hour, and I realized I'd been providing that service for free. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it became a habit. Then it became evidence. I opened my laptop and started entering data into a spreadsheet. Tuesday and Thursday school pickups, 3:15 to 6:30 p.m. 3 hours and 15 minutes twice a week for 40 weeks a year. That's 260 hours annually. Weekend babysitting, average 6 hours per weekend, roughly twice a month. Another 576 hours per year. Emergency babysitting, sick days, work emergencies, date nights. Conservative estimate of 100 additional hours annually. Total 936 hours per year times 10 years. 9,360 hours of unpaid childcare. At $15 an hour, Kevin's own estimate for professional daycare, that came to $140,400. But that seemed low. I looked up current babysitting rates in our area. $22 an hour was the going rate for experienced childcare. 9,360 hours times 22s. $205,920. I stared at the number on my screen. Over $200,000. That's what my time had been worth. That's what I'd given them for free. My phone buzzed with a text from Michelle. Can we please talk like adults? I'm willing to compromise. I screenshot my spreadsheet and texted it back to her with a message. Here's my compromise. This is what you owe me for 10 years of unpaid labor. My phone rang immediately. Are you insane? Michelle's voice was shrill. You can't seriously expect us to pay you retroactively for babysitting. Why not? You calculated how much you saved. I calculated how much I lost. That's not how family works. You're right. Family doesn't usually charge family, but family also doesn't usually exploit family for six-figure savings while bragging about it at dinner parties. We never bragged. Kevin literally called it my free daycare empire and thanked me for making your lake house possible, in front of everyone. Silence. Look, Michelle said finally, maybe we could work out some kind of arrangement going forward, like we could pay you something for watching the kids. I'm not watching the kids anymore, going forward or backward. Then what do you want from us? Nothing. I want nothing from you. That's the point. This is ridiculous. You're being completely unreasonable. Am I? Let me ask you something, Michelle. If you hired a nanny for 10 years and never paid her, then bragged to your friends about how much money you saved, would that be reasonable? Another silence. That's different. You're not a nanny. You're family. Family who provided nanny services for free while you built your careers and bought your dream house. We never asked you to keep track of hours like some kind of accountant. You never asked me to do a lot of things. You just expected them. Michelle's voice got dangerous. You know what? Fine. Keep your little spreadsheet. Keep your petty revenge fantasy. But don't expect us to pretend this is about money. This is about you being jealous of our success. You're right. I am jealous. I'm jealous that you got to have careers while I put mine on hold. I'm jealous that you got to go on date nights while I stayed home with your kids. I'm jealous that you got to buy a lake house with the money you saved by using me as free labor. Nobody forced you to help us. You're right. Nobody forced me. I chose to help because I loved you and Kevin and the kids. But you chose to take advantage of that love for 10 years, so we're both responsible for where we ended up. This conversation is over. Yes, it is. Michelle hung up. I looked at my spreadsheet again. $205,920. Enough for a house down payment. Enough for a master's degree. Enough for the life I'd put on hold. My email chimed. A message from Michelle. Since you want to play hardball, here's some hardball back. Kevin and I are telling everyone what kind of person you really are. Don't expect any family support when you realize what you've thrown away. I hit reply and typed, I've already paid tuition with money you both saved by not paying me. Karma doesn't need your permission to collect. I sent the message along with my spreadsheet. Then I opened a new browser tab and looked up nursing program scholarships. If they wanted to play hardball, they were about to learn that I'd been keeping score a lot longer than they realized. The family group chat exploded the next morning. I'd been added to it years ago, but rarely participated. Usually it was just Mom sharing photos of her garden or Kevin posting updates about the kids. Now it was a war zone. Mom had started it. I'm heartbroken to tell everyone that Angelina has decided to abandon Kevin's family in their time of need. Please keep them in your prayers as they navigate this difficult situation. My Aunt Carol responded immediately. What happened? Is Angelina okay? She's having some kind of breakdown, Mom replied. She suddenly decided she doesn't want to help with the children anymore and enrolled in college instead. Very selfish behavior. Uncle Rick chimed in. Maybe she just needs some space? College sounds positive. She's 34 years old, Mom shot back. This isn't the time for her to be playing student when her family needs her. I watched the messages pile up, my relatives taking sides without knowing the full story. Most sided with Mom's version. Poor Kevin and Michelle, abandoned by selfish Angelina. Then Bonnie entered the chat. Bonnie was my cousin's 16-year-old daughter, technically my niece, but more like a little sister. She was smart, observant, and had zero patience for family drama. Wait, hold up, Bonnie typed. Aunt Angelina has been babysitting for free for 10 years? And now everyone's mad that she wants to go to school? It's more complicated than that, sweetie, Mom replied. How is it complicated? She helped out for a decade and now she wants to do something for herself. Good for her. My cousin Janet, Bonnie's mum, jumped in. Bonnie, this is an adult conversation. I'm 16, not 6, and I have eyes. Every family gathering, Aunt Angelina is chasing after Ellie and Dylan, while Kevin and Michelle sit around talking about their jobs. Every holiday, she's in the kitchen helping while they're on their phones. When has anyone ever asked what Angelina wants? The chat went quiet for a moment. Then Kevin appeared. Bonnie, you don't understand the situation. Angelina made a commitment to help us, and she's breaking that commitment without warning. What commitment? Bonnie typed back. Did she sign a contract? Did you adopt her kids to her? Or did you just assume she'd be your free nanny forever? She's family. Family helps family. When do you help her? Another silence. I mean it, Bonnie continued. When was the last time any of you helped Aunt Angelina with something she wanted? When was the last time you babysat for her? Oh, wait, she doesn't have kids because she's been too busy raising yours. Mom tried to regain control. Bonnie, that's enough. You're being disrespectful. I'm being honest. Everyone in this family knows Aunt Angelina gets used, but nobody wants to say it out loud because it's convenient. My phone rang. Bonnie calling. Hey, I answered. Are you seeing this chat? I'm so mad I could scream. You don't have to defend me, Bonnie. Yes, I do. Someone has to. They're all acting like you committed some crime by wanting a life. Your mom's going to be upset with you. Let her be upset. I'm tired of watching everyone walk all over you. She paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. How much money did they actually save by not paying you? I told her about my spreadsheet. Holy shit, she whispered. Sorry, holy crap. Over $200,000? That's at current rates. It was probably less back then, but still. That's insane. That's like a house. That's college tuition for multiple kids. That's their lake house. Oh my God, they literally bought a house with your unpaid labor and then bragged about it. Pretty much. I'm posting this in the group chat. Bonnie, don't. But she'd already hung up. The group chat lit up again. Bonnie. Just so everyone knows, Aunt Angelina calculated that she provided over $200,000 worth of free childcare over 10 years. Kevin and Michelle literally bought their lake house with her unpaid labor. But sure, she's the selfish one for wanting to go to nursing school. The chat exploded. Uncle Rick, 200,000? Are you serious? Aunt Carol, that can't be right. Kevin, she's exaggerating. Those numbers are inflated. Bonnie, are they? What's the going rate for a nanny in your area, Uncle Kevin? Because I just looked it up and it's $22 an hour. Michelle finally appeared. This is ridiculous. We never asked her to keep track of hours like some kind of employee. Bonnie, you never asked her to do a lot of things, you just expected them. Mom tried to shut it down. This conversation is inappropriate for a family chat. Why? Bonnie shot back. Because it's making everyone uncomfortable to see the math? Aunt Angelina gave you guys the equivalent of a house down payment in free labor, and instead of saying thank you, you're calling her selfish for wanting to better herself. Janet finally stepped in. Bonnie, enough. No, Mom, not enough. Not nearly enough. Aunt Angelina is the kindest person in this family, and you've all been taking advantage of her for years. I'm proud of her for finally standing up for herself. The chat went quiet again. Then my phone buzzed with a private message from Bonnie. I love you, Aunt Angie. Don't let them guilt you into going back. I typed back. I love you too. Thank you for having my back. Always. Someone has to. An hour later, Mom called. I can't believe you got that child involved in this mess, she said without preamble. I didn't get anyone involved. Bonnie spoke up on her own. She's 16. She doesn't understand adult relationships. She understands exploitation just fine. Is that what you think this is? Exploitation? Mom, what would you call it when someone provides $200,000 worth of free services and gets criticized for wanting to stop? Silence. We're telling the kids tomorrow, Mom said finally, about what you've done to this family. Go ahead, tell them the truth. Tell them their aunt finally decided to have a life of her own. We'll see how proud you are when those children hate you. She hung up. But for the first time in 10 years, I wasn't afraid of their threats. 2 weeks later, Lucia called me into her office with news that made my day. You've been recommended for the Henderson Memorial Scholarship, she said, beaming. Full tuition coverage for students who demonstrate resilience in overcoming family obstacles to pursue healthcare careers. I don't understand. I never applied for that. I submitted your story as part of a faculty nomination. The committee was particularly moved by your situation, putting your education on hold to provide unpaid childcare, then finding the courage to reclaim your dreams. She handed me a letter. They want to interview you next week. I stared at the letterhead. This is real? Very real, and very well deserved. That evening, I was celebrating with takeout when someone knocked on my door. Through the peephole, I saw Kevin standing alone, looking exhausted. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. We need to talk, he said. Do we? Michelle left. I blinked. What? She moved out yesterday, took a job in Portland, says she can't handle the stress of our dysfunctional family situation. He laughed bitterly. Her words. I'm sorry. Are you? Because this is what you wanted, right? To destroy our family? I wanted to go to school, Kevin. That's literally all I wanted. Bullshit. You wanted revenge and you got it. He stepped closer. The kids are asking why Mommy moved away. What am I supposed to tell them? The truth, that sometimes adults make choices that hurt people they love. Like you did. Like all of us did. Kevin ran his hands through his hair. I had to move back in with Mom and Dad. I can't afford the house payments without Michelle's income, and I can't work overtime without childcare. There are daycare centers, Kevin. Babysitters. People who do this professionally. With what money? Do you know how much childcare costs? About $22 an hour. I looked it up. He stared at me. You really kept track. All those years you were keeping score. I was keeping records. There's a difference. Is there? Because it feels like you were just waiting for the right moment to throw it all in our faces. I was waiting for someone to notice that I had dreams too. I waited 10 years. Kevin leaned against the doorframe. I never asked you to put your life on hold. You never asked me not to either. You just let me do it because it was convenient. You seemed happy to help. I was happy to help. I wasn't happy to disappear. We stood there in silence for a moment. The kids miss you, he said finally. I miss them too. Then why won't you see them? Because seeing them means going back to being their unpaid caregiver, and I can't do that anymore. What if we worked something out, like paid you something? Kevin, I'm not a babysitter for hire, I'm your sister, but I'm also a person with my own life and goals. So what happens now? We just never see each other again? That's up to you. You can have a relationship with me as your sister, or you can keep trying to guilt me into being your free nanny, but you can't have both. Kevin's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. Mom's calling. She's been watching the kids while I'm at work, but she's exhausted. Dad's not handling it well either. Maybe it's time to consider that 2 retired people in their 60s shouldn't be responsible for an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old every day. Maybe it's time to consider that family is supposed to help each other. I helped for 10 years, Kevin. When do I get help? He didn't have an answer for that. My phone rang. unknown number. Hello? Is this Angelina? This is Michelle. Kevin's eyes widened when he heard her voice through the speaker. Hi, Michelle. I'm calling to apologize and to send you something. You don't need to. Yes, I do. I've been thinking about what you said, about the math, about what we took from you. Her voice was shaky. I'm overnighting you a check. It's not the full amount. I don't have that kind of money, but it's something. Kevin was shaking his head frantically, mouthing, Don't take it. Michelle, I don't want your money. I know you don't. That's why I'm sending it, because you never asked for anything, and we took everything. She paused. I'm sorry, Angelina. I'm sorry we used you. I'm sorry we didn't see it. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to understand what we did. Thank you, I said quietly. The check will be there tomorrow. Do whatever you want with it. Donate it. Burn it. I don't care. But I needed to send it. She hung up. Kevin stared at me. You're really going to take money from my wife? Ex-wife, apparently. And yes, I am. This is unbelievable. You've destroyed our marriage, broken up our family, and now you're taking money from us? Kevin, I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped holding it together for free. He turned and walked away without another word. The next day, Michelle's check arrived, $25,000. The memo line read, Partial guilt payment, no thanks to you. I stared at it for a long time, then endorsed it and deposited it into my education fund. That afternoon, I got a call from the scholarship committee. I'd been selected for the full award. For the first time in 10 years, my future was completely my own. The nursing program graduation ceremony was held on a sunny Thursday in May. I sat in the front row with my classmates, wearing my cap and gown, watching families fill the auditorium behind us. Lucia had saved me a seat in the family section, along with Moises and his girlfriend. I'd invited Bonnie, but she had finals that week. Angelina Fletcher, the dean called out. I walked across the stage, shook hands, and accepted my diploma. As I turned to wave at my small cheering section, I spotted a familiar face in the back row. Kevin was there, alone, clapping quietly. After the ceremony, I found him in the lobby. You came, I said. Bonnie told me when it was. She said I'd regret it if I didn't show up. And? She was right. He looked at my diploma. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Thank you. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. How are the kids? I asked. Good. Ellie's in 3rd grade now. Dylan's in kindergarten. They're adjusting. And you? I'm figuring it out. Dad helps with pickup sometimes. I hired a babysitter for emergencies. He paused. It's expensive. I imagine it is. The house sold last month. The lake house, I mean. We couldn't keep up with both mortgages. I nodded but didn't say anything. I got a job offer in Denver, Kevin continued. Better pay, better hours. Mom and Dad are thinking about moving out there too to be closer to the kids. That sounds good. Yeah. He shifted his weight. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. Would you like to see Ellie and Dylan before we move? They ask about you sometimes. I thought about it. Are you asking me to babysit? No, I'm asking if you want to spend time with your niece and nephew as their aunt, not as their caregiver. What's the difference? The difference is that I'll be there too. And if they need something, I'll handle it. You can just be Aunt Angelina. Something in his voice made me look at him more closely. You really mean that? I really mean that. Okay, I'd like that. Kevin smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in months. How about Saturday? We could go to the park, get ice cream. Sounds perfect. Moises appeared at my elbow, ready to celebrate. Lucia's got reservations at that Italian place you like. Go ahead, Kevin said. Enjoy your night, you earned it. As he walked away, I called after him. Kevin? He turned back. I'm glad you came. Me too. Saturday at the park was strange at first. Ellie was shy, hanging back behind Kevin's legs. Dylan ran straight to me for a hug, then immediately started chattering about his new teacher. "Daddy says you're a nurse now," Ellie said eventually. "That's right. I help take care of people when they're sick. Like when I had strep throat? Exactly like that. Will you take care of me if I get sick again?" I glanced at Kevin. He was watching us carefully but didn't intervene. "If you need me to and your dad says it's okay, then yes. But your dad is pretty good at taking care of you too." "He makes terrible soup," Dylan announced. Kevin laughed. "Thanks, buddy." "But he reads good bedtime stories," Ellie added loyally. "He does?" "Every night, even when he's tired." I looked at Kevin with surprise. "Every night?" He shrugged. "They're my kids. It's what parents do." We spent 2 hours at the park. Kevin pushed Dylan on the swings while I helped Ellie collect interesting rocks. When Dylan scraped his knee on the slide, Kevin cleaned it up and put on a Band-Aid while I distracted him with silly faces. At ice cream, Ellie asked if I would visit them in Denver. "Maybe," I said, "if your dad invites me." "I'm inviting you now," Kevin said. "Officially." "Then yes, I'll visit." On the drive home, Kevin pulled over at a gas station. "I need to tell you something," he said while the kids were distracted by a display of toys. "Michelle's check, I was angry about it at first, but I've been thinking and you should have gotten more." "Kevin." "No, let me finish. I did the math too after you left. You're right about the numbers. We saved a fortune by using you as free labor, and we never even said thank you properly." "You don't need to." "Yes, I do. Because I want my kids to understand that what we did was wrong. I want them to grow up knowing that family means supporting each other, not exploiting each other." I stared at him. "You really have changed. Losing everything will do that to you." He smiled ruefully. "Turns out I needed to learn how to be a parent instead of just playing one on weekends." "You're doing fine." "I'm learning. Finally." A week before they moved to Denver, I got a package in the mail. Inside was a handmade card from Ellie with a drawing of the two of us at the park and a photo of Dylan wearing a toy stethoscope with a note, "For Aunt Angelina, the nurse." At the bottom, in Kevin's handwriting, "Thank you for everything. We'll do better." I put the card on my refrigerator next to my nursing license and my scholarship certificate. That evening, I sat down at my laptop and made a donation to the National Domestic Workers Alliance, $1,000 with a note, "In honor of unpaid labor everywhere." In the memo line, I wrote, "They built a house on my time. I built a future on theirs." Then I closed the laptop and called Lucia to see if she wanted to grab dinner. I had a life to live, and for the first time in 10 years, it was completely my own.